This is me building a house using American ground screws for the foundation. To get started, I would use a probe to check down everywhere that I have marked for the ground screw to make sure there is no rocks. But for this, I'm actually installing the screw, so I would use the same probe to start a small pilot. The ground was fairly soft, actually very soft, as we're in early spring and the snow has melted. If you plan on using these, I would suggest using the probe. You want to make sure there's no rocks in the way. It could really push things out of the way or drive your screws back up. And then it just becomes an auger, and you do not want that. I set the tip directly into the pilot hole that I made, and I would twist and push down on it, and they would take a bite and usually hold themselves up 9 times out of 10. This one doesn't hold itself up as good as some of the other ones did, but it held itself up enough. I used a small magnetic level that I could put on it, and it would spin around as the drill would drive it down, and you could keep the bubble between the lines. They have different mechanisms for driving these down. All I needed was this drill, though. It was quite a beast. It had a 8 to 10 foot bar that would hang off the side of it, and you had to push it up against something. The mower was just heavy enough to get it to work, but the torque is pretty extreme on these, but it did the job really well. And now I'm installing the bar. It just has a little latch, clicks on, and setting the other side up against the mower's tire. And you have to make sure you're on the right side of the tire, or the bar will just take off spinning out. As I'm driving it, I just watch my little bubble on my level, and you can push it left, right, forward, back. The bar actually does a pretty good job moving it also, and it doesn't, as it goes down, you know, the bar needs to shorten, and it doesn't seem to really push it out of whack. And then if you watch the threads on this screw, once you get the threads in the ground, it's pretty well set. There's really no more adjusting it. That's the biggest thing, is just making sure that your bubble is level as you get that in the ground. I think it's like a third of the screw. And this drill is really nice. I mean, it's heavy, but it's like you got a monstrous drill with a transmission hanging off the front of it. And it's got 2 gears. I never really needed to use second gear, but if you do, it'll just drive it slower, but it'll give it a lot more torque. What you see me doing now is shoveling around the bottom of the screw. That bit that goes on the end of the drill will actually go lower than where the dirt is on this side. The ground's slightly slanted, so on the north side of the house, these things are only barely sticking up 2 inches out of the ground. And with that bit coming down, I have to make sure there's room for it. I actually am adjusting these screws using the bit. It has a flange on it, and I'm using that to get the first set of adjustments and the laser level. So as you see, I'm just listening to the tones and making sure that I get this at the right height. And And a little deeper we must go. You have really good accuracy with these also. I mean, it spins in and out. It's like a drywall screw. It's almost cartoonish when you see someone putting these in. You think of, you know, Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck holding a gigantic screw in their hands. It's basically the same thing. So, and there I am, spinning it down, and if I remember right, I go too deep. So, I think I'm going to reach over in a second here and switch it to reverse, and you can just screw them up a little bit. There it is. And just a little bit. But to bring them up too far, you have to actually go out and change the bar, like I have on the mower, and you have to swap it to the other side of the tire. Because all you're going to do, if you don't, is just spin that bar around. So, shows you how much torque it really has. And luckily this is soft soil. I mean, if you got in some heavy soil, I don't think that mower would have done it. I'd probably have to push it up against the truck, so. And just fine-tuning it. So, it's not that exciting, but I think it's important if anyone's going to use these to kind of see exactly how that works. So I'm happy with it. And I reverse it and squeeze the handle just a little bit to release the pressure. That bar will hold the pressure on that. Unhook the bar and let's take this beast off. And then I'll take the attachment off also. And then I'm grabbing my bracket that goes on top of the screw. And this is a round one. I try to get square, but this is post-pandemic and things are short. It wasn't a big deal. So I decided to use these. So I sit this down and then you use the Fat Man test. Make sure it actually holds you up. If you do not have a Fat Man on site, I would recommend stopping until you can get one. It's probably one of the most crucial tests that you could do on one of these. Now there's 3 bolts that would screw into the side of these to really anchor them. Oh, and don't forget the kick test. But as you see, if you look to the right of the screen, you'll notice that the ground slants left and they're actually deeper on the right. So, since they're all level, you can really see the slope of the job site and how the foundation's going to sit. And when you least suspect it, the foreman will show up, take a look at the material and make sure everything's okay. We have the gravel laid out and we have the paw print of approval. So this is my super graphical presentation of how these will work. Obviously I don't have a flat surface, so we're going to go with a slanted surface, which is normal. We're going to fill it with gravel to bring that slope up. And we'll put our brackets on top of our ground screws. And then our post, of course. That way they're held on tight. Of course, if you have a very unlevel ground, you just have a longer post. I put mine 8 foot on center, so I can run 16 foot forwards, and I did 3 2x10s. And then I'd put my cross braces on it so that, you know, it would help support it. And then my bottom brace would be for the sheeting on the outside. This is exactly how I did it. This is the inside of it. You can see a little clearer how I did that. And I also went along the bottom, the 2x6 that I would lay sideways. That was for the sheeting, while on the inside you can, using the flange nails, you can put some rigid foam down so that it has something your gravel can go up to kind of keep things in. That's not going to be your only skirting, it's just a little border to keep some stuff in there. But as you see, I'm working pretty fast. There was actually roast in the crock pot, and it was finishing up. I didn't want to miss it. So these are my joists, and they're all a little long. So I actually cut the ends off them so I could use them for blocking, which I was about a foot short. Didn't really need it, but I figured since I had to order 16-foot boards to make this, it would work out. So that's me sliding them on there, and things don't always go as planned, as you see. So after that catastrophe, we just stand these up. Luckily they stand up pretty good. That's me crowning them. Always make sure there's a bow going up. And actually, these are strange. These are awfully expensive because, well, lumber went up during this time to astronomical levels. But somehow, these were ridiculously straight. And I just never seen lumber so straight in my life. But it was also pretty heavy. I don't know why. Oh, we gotta take a look at this again. You youngins, you can do stuff, but when someone over 40 hops over a beam like that, you have to rewatch that. So here it is. Got the sheeting along the bottom. I cut that down to 2-foot strips. I didn't want it to come up and land around the seam of where the wall meets the floor. So I have the exterior walls up. And here I am just starting to frame the interior walls. Building a little table here to frame on. I always frame my walls, then stand them up. I don't build them on the ground. That's for those young, fit people. And here we are. I built a little elevator in order to get the sheeting up to the roof. I wouldn't want to actually do any work. I think the maximum load I had on this elevator was 5 pieces of plywood. It's just a cheap Harbor Freight hoist. And a couple 2x6s on top and a bar right through them. But as you see, it definitely does the job. When building off a slab, I don't need a hoist. I just set 2 2x6s up and a couple arms, like I stood them up there. And when you push it up there, it'll stick over the roof a couple feet and just grab it. But with the ground screws, it pushes it up almost 3 feet higher off the ground. So you just have to use a hoist or do extra work. I choose not to do extra work. I tend to avoid work as much as I can. I've had a couple back surgeries. And my doctor says that, after my last surgery, you need to calm down. Don't do anything hard on your body. So I decided to just build full houses by myself. It makes sense. What I'm doing here, although it's a bad angle, is I'm marking out the line that my hip is running on the edge of the roof here. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And switch hands so I can grab the plywood. And it's just that easy. With the roof done, the foreman has come out to inspect. He wants to check out my soffit. Make sure they got our plumbing lines hooked up. They sure left us a nice pile of dirt. But in this area, the dirt gets wet, sinks pretty good, so it has to be kind of high. And I think also, he ran aside to check our soffit lights, make sure they worked. And they do. Looks really good. Got the nice black shingled roof on it. And on bottom there, you can see the skirting. This can accept dirt and water right up to it. I achieved this by cutting down 3/4 inch foundation grade plywood and nailing it so 6 inches would hang down lower than the original OSB on there. Also, I double wrapped it in 6mm plastic, and then on the outside of that added 1/2 inch rigid foam exterior grade ground contact, and then had a concrete spread. I had to rough up the rigid foam, and I had an aerator for a garden, and I just rolled that all across it and then put this on here, and you had to nail it in with cap nails and then go through kind of like you do drywall and actually mud your nails with it and then let it sit. And their seams I used the webbing tape, and then I was able to put 2 coats all the way around it. I used a brush and did a pattern, just made it look nice. And with that hanging down the 6 inches basically below the top of the ground screw, your gravel inside is actually higher than that. So your foundation is now a above grade crawl space foundation. So you don't have to worry about any flooding or anything to happen here. The entire foundation is like a drain. And I covered that when it was done, sealed it all in plastic 6mm. And here's some quick pictures of the interior. It's pretty standard new construction, just white trim, white doors, but it has some nice stuff in it. I used the Pergo true waterproof flooring throughout the house, and these faucets actually light up. They use the water pressure to spin a generator. It creates a light. I put those in the bathrooms also. And here's the house's exterior with gutters and everything on it, all graded. And you can tell how I pushed the dirt right up to the foundation. No issues. Without going inside, you wouldn't even know that was on ground screws. And this house was sold through the USDA, so the foundation passes the USDA standards. So with the American ground screws, they have an ESR report stating that they do conform to the International Building Code, and that's one reason I went for them. It's the only one I've found that actually has that. So it has had tests done to them, and you can actually look at the weights that each one can carry in different soil types. Well, now the work is over, and house is sold. It's time to relax, cook a steak, kick your feet up, burn some scraps, make some nachos, drink something good, and just sit back, look at the sun, and enjoy yourself. All the hard work, all the scraps burning, it's the best part of the job. This is why I build in the counties. So just remember, keep building, keep moving, keep improving. And if you like these videos, subscribe to The Mobile Builder.